Oh, yeah. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to dev.talk. I'm Mark Oliver, your host and organizer tonight. Thank you all for coming. And so our agenda tonight is we're going to do networking. We've already done that. Then we're going to have Masha. Masha talking about human side of change. Then we'll have a break. And then we'll have Stuart talking about the hidden evolution of services. So 2 different topics tonight. Both our speakers have come from a long way away. They're not Bournemouth based, so hopefully you'll enjoy them. They really have made an effort to come here. Nobody's getting paid for tonight, including me. So everybody's doing it out of the, because they want to be here. So let's pay them the respect they deserve. First up is Masha talking about human side of change.
Thank you.
Just click over, you'll get to see.
Hi, everybody. It's really great to see you here tonight. Just a quick question. Is there anybody who does not have a technical background in the room? 2, right, there are 2 of us. Nice, okay. It's nice to feel special and also nice to feel kind of not alone. So I'm here going to talk to you about the human side of change. And before I go into some tips and tricks that you may find helpful when you are building a new product that people are going to use, which means they're going to be changing their behaviors or their ways of working, just to ground ourselves in what the change really is. Have you guys been on a roller coaster at all? Yeah? So, imagine you're on a roller coaster, but your eyes are closed, and you don't really know where is it taking you. Is it going to turn you backwards? Is it going to be upside down? You have no idea when it's going to end. I assume as I'm describing this, your stomach is like, you're not really comfortable, your breath is going really up, and you're like holding onto your chair, think that's not great. And this is really how uncertainty feels. And now imagine you're off the train, think, okay, right, now I can catch my breath, now I can relax. And you're off to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one. And that's a little bit how current life is at the moment, with so many things changing, the political situation being quite unstable, financial situation, ecological, I don't know, you name it. Things are always upside down. So we find ourselves in these moments when we basically frozen, and this is where we expected to do something different. Now, we can't really do anything different if we don't have 2 key things. We don't have trust and we don't have empathy. I'm going to demonstrate it with one story with the team that I was working with. It was about 2018 when in my company, and that was a huge pharmaceutical company, we finally decided that agile is the way as well, not only for product development or IT solutions, but you can also use it for a marketing strategy, for commercial strategy, to see how you can launch products on the market. We started to work cross-functionally, breaking down the silos, and I was an agile coach. And because we were a Swiss corporate company with the nice offices, we decided to take people outside of these nice offices and put them in funky co-working spaces. And we then decided to train them on a different ways of being and working with more, experimentation, where you get to understand what your customers are about, what's your biggest unknown, design an experiment, test your assumption there, and then move on, make decisions based on that, there and there. So as I was coaching them, they've understood a list of unknowns, their biggest, riskiest assumption, and they were given 3 hours to go and run this experiment, make a decision, and move on. Now, in normal setting, it would have taken 3 to 6 months, right? Because then you make a decision, you gather your market data, you look at all of the information, you then get all of the legal stuff, the consents, the data that you're going to use for patients, because it was pharmaceutical company. So it usually takes very long time to make any sort of decisions or forward-looking actions. They were given 3 hours, and they were nowhere near any of the doctors and nurses. So everybody was sitting like, I'm not doing this. Like I'm not doing this. It's ridiculous. I'm gonna waste my time. So I let them brew in that moment for some time, and then I was starting to ask them questions to trying to really understand what is it that we're holding them back to just try. I mean, why not, right? You're being paid for your time. We're all here in nice London locations. Why don't we go ahead and do it? Now, the biggest fear was that they're gonna fail, that they will not going to test their assumptions, and these 3 hours are just going to be wasted. And this is where it's like, okay, so you think if you design a wrong experiment and you are not going to validate your assumptions, you're going to fail. But sitting here and complaining about the whole exercise, I mean, that's a win, right? That's clearly going to help us here. So finally, we've overcome these fears. Like, I helped them to design an experiment. They went on and done it. Came back, presented to the growth board, to the leadership team. Everybody was so enthusiastic, great results. We understood stuff. We also understood the experiment needs to be changed for the next time. It wasn't the point. The point was to try to act differently and think more creatively. And there was the most senior manager there who also presented his results. And later on in corridor, I found out that he faked all of them. He never did any experiments. He just went to have a coffee. He was the most senior person. He was actually paired with other people, with more junior people, and he also told them not to do anything. But their team came back into the presentation and delivered it with results from the users. That obviously shocked me. I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do with this? This is so much resistance. How are we going to move forward if this is the behavior? Now, clearly, those two things didn't exist for us at the time, right? We didn't have enough trust for him to say, listen, Masha, I mean, like, all sounds fun and cool. I just don't want to do it. I don't feel comfortable. Can I just not participate this one time? Let the team do it. I'll learn. We'll see. But I just don't want to do it for now. And that's okay, right? It's okay to say that you're not comfortable with something. Clearly, that was not the state of our team. There was no enough kind of psychological safety to admit that. Now, I'm not sure if I would have had enough empathy to flex, right, and to change the exercise for the team if they would have told me that. I'm not sure, because it's hard to say how you would have acted some years back. Now, those two things were missing. This is why there was basically failure in working in this new way and teaching people how to be more agile, even when you're not delivering a product, but using it to commercialize the product. And 83% of transformations fail exactly due to that, due to people resisting. Now, there are certain ways that we can overcome it. But the bad news is that we cannot manage change, right? A lot of the times we would have people who call themselves change managers, and I mean, I do also have a change management certification, so I'm guilty of that, to say, this 50 slides that I have, that's going to be amazing change plan, which is going to make all of us happy, and we're all going to succeed, and business is going to thrive. Now, 50 slides on your deck does not mean you're changing anything, okay? Because change means somebody needs to change the way they behave. Can you manage how anybody behaves? I can't manage how my kids behave, like, let alone anybody in the team. Like, that's impossible to make somebody do something, right? They need to want to do it. They need to see the need to do it, the outcomes of why they should do it, and they need to be encouraged to do it. And the good thing is there's nothing more permanent except change. Back to the roller coaster situation. You can talk all along about it, but it doesn't really matter because change is just always there. Something's going to be changing. You're going to be changing teams, products, technology that you're using, the customers who are using your products. Everything's going to be changing all the time. So let's just accept that that's as a default and not worry too much about it. Now, I'm going to share with you 5 tools that have worked with me and my teams in the past in different situations and helped them overcome this resistance, this fear, and ultimately build the trust and the empathy. And you will see how those two core elements are kind of the red threads during those 5 tools. Now, the first one, building tools with the users and not for your users, right? Do you think if you as a developer come into the room with your users and they, for 2 hours, discuss only one question, how are we never going to use this tool? Like, why do we hate this tool? Why is it never going to work? Why am I never launching this? Why am I never clicking those buttons, never opening your dashboard, never using it? Would you feel comfortable doing that? Not everybody will, but let me tell you, if you do that, you will understand so much more about your backlog and requirements for your product than any other surveys that you would probably do with the users, because this is where you build the trust by asking this question. You sit there and think, okay, I build it, I love it, it's my favorite tool, I spend hours on it, the code is beautiful, but then they say all the things that are wrong with it openly. That means you trust yourself enough to overcome these things and build a better product for them, right? And build empathy by not arguing with every single point they tell you, okay, there's a time and a place for that. Now, after you've given them the permission to kill your tool, it's important to end the meeting on a high note, right? You end the workshop on loving the tool. You think, okay, these are all the reasons we are never going to use the tool. And then these are all the reasons why I will not imagine my life without this tool going forward. Like, I cannot even think, how did I exist before without this tool? This is kind of the thought process that they need to have. Now, this actually has some theory in it, right? It's called a field force analysis. So in the middle, you have this desired change, that the people do something differently, like use your tool, use your product, change the way they work, perhaps. And then there are restraining forces. There are things that are not letting them express this behavior or the change that you want them to express. And then there is this driving forces. Now, in the situation we want to be is where the amount of driving forces and the reasons people are going to love your tool is bigger. Like, there are more of those than the reasons why they will never use the tool. And then you use it as a backlog and see how you can improve. This is exactly the workshop we have done with my latest client and Camden Council for the dashboard that the team was asked to use. What's important is when you collect the information and you log them and you go through them, prioritize them, all of the usual things, you then report back to the user. Say, you told us 15 things why you hate the tool, 20 things why you like the tool, 10 things we're going to ignore because we're not going to do anything about them. That's okay too. You can't implement every single thing. This is what we're going to do with the rest of them. And you keep them informed. And though these simple communication kind of channels really build into this empathy and trust mechanism, which is going to help you make the tool actually be used once you launch it. Another one is the skills and wills matrix. Now, when you're working with a subject matter expert, or for example, you yourself is a very experienced software developer, how many of you would say, I am a very experienced software developer? 1, 2. Okay, so you probably somewhere here, like you really know your stuff, right? You have very high skill. And I assume yet that you really like what you're doing, hence you keep doing it, right? So you have a high skill and high will. So you're like, yes, I'm loving it. I can teach others. I'm in my flow, right? I don't know how many of you would like to be presenters and run workshops. No, right? So imagine then somebody will say, oh, you did such a great job. Do you mind? There's a conference with 300 people. Tell them how great you are. And immediately, you're the same person, right? From being here, you go here. You're like, what? I mean, I don't know how to do it. And I actually don't really want to do it, right? So you express very different behaviors in this moment. And you should be expecting very different leadership behaviors from your team and your peers in this moment. So this person doesn't, the person here doesn't need any micromanaging. I should have a pointer, right? Anyway, the person here is the opposite. They need direction. Like, don't worry about it. You only need 10 slides, 2 minutes per slide. You need to breathe. You need to pause. Memorize your first line and the last line, and then you'll be fine. Whatever, right? Give you certain clear directions on what to do. Now, how many of you are junior software developers? Graduates? What? Just a couple? Okay. Oh, more. Okay, right. So you're probably here. Your skill is not that developed yet, but you're very excited. Your will is very high. You're like, I really like this. This is the reason I'm here. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna rule this world. We're gonna change everything for the better, which is amazing. We really need this enthusiastic people. But what they need is more guidance, right? More coaching, more direction. And then when the people are somewhere here, when your skill is high, but your will isn't, I don't know, it could happen to any one of us in any given day, right? It's not like it matters career-wise or age-wise. I can be really tired of what I'm doing as I do it, right? And this is where you need motivation. So as people who are using your product or who needs to change, or yourselves even, go through, I don't know, complex transformation project, or you need to do something that you are not used to doing, just remember that these 4 quadrants, and what I gave the team at the time was the language to use, saying, listen, right now, for this task, I'm here. Like, it sounds so cool, but like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. I don't know enough about it. Can you help me? Can we build this code together? Can we do this together? Or you can notice that somebody is very detached, and you know they know how to do it. They're just not sharing, which probably means the skill is high, but they don't really want to participate, so the will is low, which means you need to bring up their enthusiasm and motivation there, right? So you kind of can think of people around you, your teammates, your users, your stakeholders. What behaviors are they showing you and why? And by just in your head thinking about this quadrant, you think, aha, okay, they're probably here. How about I try directing them? How about I try saying, listen, you've done it so well. Can you please go and teach 10 other people how to do this? I mean, that's exactly what you should. If you try to say that to this person, you know what he's going to say? Well, I'm not swearing, it's on camera, but he will not going to do that, right? That's not going to happen. So you need to delegate and empower for somebody who is really high skill, high will. You need to excite and motivate those who aren't really willing to do whatever you're asking them to do. Coach and guide and direct. That's very important, because a lot of the times during the change, leadership kind of detach themselves to the process, and they want everybody else to figure it out because they don't want to push or don't want to be directive. That's also a little bit cultural when it comes to British teams, when they don't want to be very assertive, right? And that's like fine until it's not. There are moments where people need to know exactly what you expect from them, and especially when their roles are changing and their whole identity is changing. We're in this roller coaster. They don't need any freaking empowerment. They don't need you to say, well done, you're doing amazing. They need you to tell them exactly what to do and when the turn is going to happen and when it's going to stop, right? So your language needs to be changing depending on where the people are. Now, that's the second one. The third one is about measuring the things that actually matter. How many of you really liked COVID times? Thrived in COVID times? 1 person? 2, 3, 4? Yeah, anyway, you guys are in the minority. Most people did not really enjoy COVID times, myself included. And if you would ask me, like, oh, how was COVID for you? I was like, oh, I mean, that was tough. And the third one, well, the third lockdown was the toughest, and all the stories and homeschooling and going crazy. But even though I don't have a technical background, I really love data. That's my version of how I love data, right? No judgment. This is the, what's it called? The scorecard or whatever that I was using with my husband. It was on our kitchen wall. And we were tracking every day. I was the heart and he was the star. Whether we did exercise, whether we read, a book, whether we did something new, whether he cooked something new, I mean, I'm not bothered, whether we had alcohol, and whether it was a good day or a bad day. And it's amazing how your behavior changes when this is just in front of you, when you see, oh my God, I haven't opened the book in like 2 weeks. Maybe I should, right? You decide, or I haven't exercised for a while, or how many nights have I had a drink? Do I really want to have a drink today or not? That gives you a very different way of deciding what to do if you have this data in front of you, okay? And because we had this last column with the smiley face on whether it was a good day or a bad day, what do you think was the percentage of good days overall?
50-50.
I love that, being very cautious. 50-50?
80%.
80% good?
Yeah.
Yeah?
30.
30, yeah? Yeah, it was actually 70% good days. So the data tells us that my COVID times weren't that bad. There was 70% actually really good. And I didn't calculate like how many days I exercised, but quite a lot, I should say. Anyway, that's just important to put your attention to the things that really matter. And not all of the metrics, user metrics, KPIs and dashboards and things that we are trained to measure have anything to do with what people actually expressing, feeling, and how are they behaving, and what they think about your product. So I try to move people away from the key performance indicators in this case, and we can move into the key people indicators. When you track energy, how are we feeling today as a team? Collaboration, have you saw the team A speak to team B and then share the things they found with team C? Well, previously they never even knew about each other's existence, or that they're duplicating each other's processes for the last 15 years. Like maybe this is something you've noticed. Or innovation, have anybody tried to break your tool and it become better, right? Maybe they found something that actually matched their workflow, which you didn't know. It's important that you know about these things, but you only will know about this if there is a trust and empathy, right? If somebody's sharing this with you. And if you bother to track different things, right? If you bother to collect the information in a creative different ways outside of your usual metrics. So in this case, you can then notice this early adopters, which is very, like we know this curve that innovators, adopters, and then the majority follows, right? The majority will only follow if there's enough of these innovators and early adopters. And you will only have enough of these people if you notice them and praise them, because everybody wants to be noticed, right? And if you're giving me the new tool, and I'm actually quite good at it, I mean, I would want you to come and say, well done, this is amazing. So you put me in this high will, high skill quadrant, and you say, oh, tell others, show others how you do this. And this is how you kind of train the army that then becomes the majority, and then you don't need to worry about it then, right? You need to do a lot of work in the beginning, but then afterwards, the curve goes down, you're off to go to your new tool and new product, right? And capture small wins and scale them, right? When I said about somebody breaking your tool and actually improving it, that's your small win. That's somebody doing something different that can help others that you can scale. And it's important that you notice it, otherwise, this will also die as a piece of innovation, because if it doesn't get scaled, if it doesn't get shared, if it doesn't get picked up, people will stop doing it because the motivation kind of evaporates, right? I've tried, nobody cares, it's not getting anywhere, why would I bother? I'm just gonna be like everybody else. And then everything kind of slows down. Engineer hope and shrink change. You like engineering, right? So I thought I'm gonna put a few words that actually may mean something to you more than my change topic. There has been an interesting research where people were going into the car wash, and after they completed the car wash, they would have been given the loyalty card, you know, like in coffee places, they do you the one that stamps. So one group of people was given the loyalty card with eight, I don't know, empty spots, right? And they say after you complete all of the 8, you get the free car wash. There was another group of people who also came to the car wash, and they were giving a card with 10. But 2 of them were already stamped, right? Guess who completed their card quicker and got the free car wash? The one with 10, right? Even though both groups had the same number of car washes to do before they get the free one, so 8 and 8, but the first 2 got the impression they're 20% there. I mean, come on now, how hard can it be? I'm almost there. It's just a few car washes and then I get the free one. But nothing is, in reality, the fact they're the same. It's the psychology. You need to give people the impression that they're halfway there. Because of things changing all the time, you introduce a new tool. And oh my God, I remember I was walking into one nurse's office in primary care, and we were, of course, launching the new digital solution for her to remotely manage patients, because our solution was, of course, the best solution. And as I walked in her office, and she shows me her computer, there were 17 cables sticking out of this computer. I'm like, oh, what is this? She's like, all of the solutions that said they're one-stop shop. Would you want to be the number 18 on those cables? I mean, that's shocking, right? And you want people to change all the time whatever they're doing because your product is better, or because that's the company, the strategy, and everybody is in the end wants to make money, and it's the world is very commercial. But in this moment, when you want people to move away from what they have been doing, they need to see the things that remain the same, or that they have already done it. So when you want people to use a new dashboard, a new tool, you can say, oh, this is just like these are the things that you have been doing before, or these graphs are exactly as you saw them before, or this new application actually does whatever the same as before. So they feel more comforted and like, oh, okay, well, I'm 20% there, aren't I? So it must not be that hard if it's already doing some of the stuff I knew before. So it's really very important. And shrink change, remember? So when people go into the mode of low skill and low will, when you're moving them into different teams or asking them to work with a different tool or application, they need direction. So they don't need to know your 5 years roadmap strategy of how it's going to fly and do the laundry. And there's AI, of course, and all of the things. Like it's too much. All they need to do right now is how things impact themselves in their jobs, right? What is changing on Monday? And if nothing is changing on Monday, maybe you shouldn't have been talking to them today. Like, don't think that everybody wants to know all of the information at once. I'm not saying withhold the information, but be careful on when do you share what with the users, because it can really quickly bring the overwhelm instead of excitement. And we want people to get those 2 stamps and run with it and say, yes, I'm 20% there. I'm going to be the super user of this tool in like 3 weeks, and everybody's going to be coming to me for advice. That's kind of the spirit and the, the beliefs and the trust and empathy that's supposed to be built is going to do for you, right? So remind people of what they have already done and make their small changes visible. So similar to the tracking, the key people indicators, and praising those early adopters, people need to see that somebody noticing their change. So if you are tracking some metrics, I remember there was a moment when I launched a new dashboard in Camden. People used to spend 2 weeks out of a month preparing the dashboard. And it doesn't shock you, okay, fine. I mean, I was like, oh my God, like somebody's spending 2 weeks on like producing the data, not deciding what to do with the data, not analyzing this data, actually getting the numbers together for 2 weeks every month. That's half a year gone for more than one person. So with the dashboard, we made it possible to almost do it in 2 days, which was a huge, of course, improvement. But we weren't really seeing enough of uptake in the beginning. I was getting worried. I'm like, come on, this is an amazing dashboard. You're supposed to love it. Why nobody is loving it? And then there was a message from one of the users with a screenshot showing me that somebody used the dashboard, screenshotted it, highlighted the things they were questioning, and sent it to somebody else, said, hey, I found these 2 things. They don't match. Why? Which proves that somebody used it. So what's important now is to reach out to that person who bothered enough to make a screenshot of your product, highlight stuff, send it to somebody else, and actually make decisions based on the data that you showed in your new dashboard. I mean, they need to know that you sitting here and dancing around saying, oh my God, my dashboard is the best dashboard in the world. And you call them up and say, hey, Chris, I saw you use the dashboard and you made Susan know, thank you. It's amazing. Can you tell me more? What else did you find? Because this is how you also see those people who find things that are broken, or they find inconsistencies that you didn't see before, didn't notice, right? So these people need to be noticed and see that, oh, maybe the person didn't even think that they've changed anything in how they're doing, right? But they've actually did, right? They've used a new tool in a different way and collaborated with another team. Huge change, like enormous change in the human behavior, which a lot of the times would have gone unnoticed if there's nobody paying attention to these things, if you're not tracking key people indicators. Observe users in their natural habitat. This is, I don't know, I'm going to die on this hill. It's the most important thing that you can do as somebody who develops a product, is to see somebody's using your product. And it's shocking how, few people actually do that. Because when you are with somebody looking at how they use a product, I mean, the whole world changes. So I had a situation about 2014, 15. I was in Russia, and we were launching a new CRM system, so going from Excel to actual Salesforce.com, huge deal, and also from paper to iPads. The salespeople who would go to visit doctors and pharmacists, instead of having nice little brochures, would have needed to have an iPad with them. And the region around Moscow and St. Pete, they were fine. If you go anywhere to the Far East, Siberia, and further, they hated it. Like, never using this iPad, it's stupid, I hate the iPad. But how can you hate the iPad? It's beautiful. I mean, it's so nice, isn't it? It just feels good, and you have the graphics, and it's so much better than paper. And we had all of this new tools and features, how everything updates automatically, and depending on what your customer tells you, the decision tree changes. Like, it was all so cool. They hated it. None of the online calls or normal calls helped. So I got on the plane and I flew over to Novosibirsk, and I'm like, okay, show me. Let's go to the pharmacy and show me. The person was very resistant, like, no, I can't, it's not working, the Wi-Fi doesn't work, my fingers are too fat, all of the reasons, right, why they can't use the iPad. I was like, okay, I sit in the car, you go, and then you tell me how it went. So went into the visit, I don't know what he's done there, right, but came back all sweating, like, I hate this, I'm not gonna do this again, I felt so uncomfortable. I was like, okay, well, you have your cup of coffee, and I'm gonna go and see how it was for the customer. So I go into this very rural, very kind of almost dodgy neighborhood. It was also winter, so it doesn't really help. So minus 30. So I go in, there's the person. I was like, hi, introduce myself. I'm working with the same company. My colleague just been. How was it? How was your experience with the conversation? And she's like, oh my God, you guys so innovative. I love the thing. It's so shiny and bright, and you have this fancy thing that he was holding to me, not like any other wraps with a piece of paper that I'm just going to throw in a bin. So I go back to my rep and say, hey, I understand that you might not feel comfortable using it. Later on, I understood that he just didn't want to sound arrogant or look posh in front of somebody who probably earns less and probably does not have an iPad. But customers are seeing you as innovative company, and that's exactly what we want them to think about you. So again, whatever your brain is telling you, or your perceived feelings or emotions towards the product, may have nothing to do with the reality or with how your customer perceives the product. So it's very important to find any ways that you can to go on a field visit with somebody who uses the product, to shadow them with your mouth shut as they do a piece of work. That's something which usually business analysts do, right? When they try to understand the current workflows before the new tool is being developed. And as simple as screen share. Just share your screen and show me how you do it. And most of the times when you see that, it will unlock something. I can't guarantee what, but it will be good. So those are the 5 tools that have worked with the teams I've been lucky enough to help. Field force analysis, love and kill your tool, don't worry. The love is usually stronger. Skills build metrics, give you the language for yourself and for your leaders. Move away from only the performance indicators and try to lean towards the key people indicators. Engineer hope, the 2 stamps with 20% there, shrink change, and observe. Just observe the users, and then you'll be good. Those things will absolutely follow suit if you try one of the things that I've shared with you today. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Masha? Deathly silence.
Yes.
Are there any key performance indicators that you've worked with that you think should be included while working alongside key people indicators?
Yeah, I mean, of course, ideally you would have them together, but it depends on what questions you're answering. So it doesn't, the metric itself is useless. The questions you're trying to answer is what you need to focus on. What are you trying to understand? And then you can brainstorm what metrics can help you understand that. But there are no right or wrong metrics, depending on the question you're asking. It could be sales, it could be market share. It could be the time they spend on the website, number of clicks, but it depends on what you're asking. If you want them to know how long they spend and how amazing your content is, you'll get that. If you're testing, I don't know, how button is comfortable on the user experience, you probably need the number of clicks. So it depends on the question rather than on good KPIs and bad KPIs. Yeah.
So it's contextual.
Yes. Like, you have a, no? Change your mind? Did I scare you? Cool.
No? No questions? Okay, great.
you.
Thank you very much, Masha. So we're going to take about a 20-minute break now, and then we'll have Stuart talk to us about scaling services after that. So find yourself a drink, biscuit, find a buddy, talk. But the buddy thing's optional. So I hope you all managed to get a drink and say hello to each other. We're going to leap straight on with Stuart, talking about the hidden evolution of services. Stuart.
Hi, thanks for having me. I couldn't ask for a better setup from Masha's excellent talk, because once we've set up our humans to work out how they're going to deal with change, what about the software systems that they're going to be working with? How do we navigate that world of systems that need to keep up with all of the change that the organization is willing upon them? And that takes a bit of effort. But this isn't a new problem. I don't know if you know this. This is Cragside. It's a country house in Northumbria. And if you haven't been to Northumberland and visited it, you really should go. It was built in the 1860s by William Armstrong and his wife, Lady Armstrong. And it was the house of the modern magician. And it was called that because it was full of modern marvels. They had electricity, which they'd built from, which they powered the house with from a hydroelectric plant, which they built themselves and invented. They had hydro-powered pneumatic spinning rotisseries. They had dishwashers in 1865. Imagine that. So it was very impressive, but it didn't start there. Originally, it was a small hunting lodge, and as the ambitions and success of the engineering prowess of this couple expanded, they got more ambitious, and its end state is effectively a showcase for them to build their business model. Like this is a sales room, right? They're inviting people around the world to sell weapons, which is how you get lots of money in the Victorian era. And so over 25 years, this guy in the center, who's John Shaw, was their architect. And he had to start from this beginning point and navigate all of this change as his two stakeholders came up with even more elaborate things that had never been done before, which maybe feels a little bit like the world of software. We're being asked to build things that no one's built before. That's why we're building them. What do you do? So we can't get to where we're going without making changes. And so we've got a system that we're building. We've got a stream of requirements coming at us. That's bringing a source of change. At the same time, your organization is growing and changing around you. And to add that into the mix, time moves inexorably on. And people all around you in other companies are inventing great things like, I don't know, ChatGPT. And suddenly everything moves on again. Now what do you do? Because your business has got a great idea. It's going to be amazing. So we're not going to go on a journey of, is this microservices or monoliths or SOA? The pendulum swings backwards and forwards. Sometimes it's fashion. For that, that's an architectural decision where you're trying to make sense and trade off your incidental complexity versus your network complexity and that kind of thing. This isn't what we're on about. It's how do we deal with change and how does that relate to the organization around you? So if we spin forward 100 years from the Victorian era into the 1960s, well, we pile back a bit. So service needs to be the right size, but that's carrying quite a lot of weight. This is the guidance that we give our engineers at Love Holidays, which is just make the service the right size.
The right answer, but not easy.
Yeah, and so they say, that's nice. What does big mean and what does need mean? and what is big? Because big is, it could be the size of your code base, but you change your language, your code trees. It could be the surface area of your API. So is it like how many calls does the business make into it? And the needs are going to change because need is a function of your organization now. And the need today wasn't the need yesterday, and it won't be the need tomorrow. So yeah, this guy Conway was thinking about that. And what he noticed, he was studying not just software, but everything that was going on in organizations. And what he realized is that you're going to build systems which match the structures of the organization that you have and that you exist in. And the famous experiment that he ran, or he observed, was they had 8 contractors and they had 2 compilers to build, one for COBOL, one for Ada. It was a while back. And one team was a team of 5 people, one team was a team of 3. Team of 3 built a 3-phase compiler, team of 5 built a 5-phase compiler. Go figure. And this is what you'll see everywhere. So people will build the systems based on the team structure you give them and their abilities. So if you create 2 teams and one is a front-end team, one is a back-end team, you'll get a front-end system, you get a back-end system. If the back-end guy is NoSQL, they'll build a database probably. If you're a Java shop, all your back-end is going to be Java. So we make a conscious decision now is to say we are going to have small teams because we want our small teams to be independent of each other. And we've kind of settled on a team size of around 5 because as you increase the number of people in the team, each of those lines is a conversation that you have to achieve consensus. So you have to form a balance between automatic consensus and no capacity to do work, or infinite capacity, but you'll never achieve consensus. And typically the 2 pizza size rule still seems to hold for us. And we arrange those teams to work independently of each other because as soon as I join that team to another team, I've now got a web of somewhere between 5 and 10 people, and I've now got to go all around that network of consensus and agreement. And if I'm changing things, that could be fun. So when we got those small teams, what we're hoping that they will do is own their domain. So we give them a long-lived problem. And looking at what Conway says will happen, we expect them to say, okay, we are this problem. We are going to build these services. I've drawn 1 box, but maybe they build 3 or 4, maybe they build 20. It doesn't really matter, but they're theirs. They sit in their world. And around their perimeter, they start to build APIs that other teams can connect to. Remembering that the quality of your systems is a function of how well those teams communicate, we then put a lot of effort into getting teams to walk over and talk to each other. Because if they don't talk, you're going to have an API that doesn't work for the team that wants to use it, and they won't tell them. That can cause you a different problem. And if you have lots of teams, this problem amplifies. So as an organization grows, it gets even more important that you think about that. Once we've got that in place, we're expecting them to build data APIs, which we'll come to, which is your long-lived systems. And because they build the system and they run the system, this observability bit should naturally pop out because they're going to get paged if the system breaks. So you should be motivated to not get paged. I certainly am. I do not like getting woken up on Boxing Day to go and fix a broken import, what's the name, or whatever. So that's where we are now. So we've got 14 teams. Last year we were 10. Next year we will be bigger because if a company is successful, it grows. But we're currently here. We're starting to scale out. We weren't always there. We started as a startup about 12 years ago, and the rules were very different then to where they are now. And as we moved through the scale-up and started to realize what was working, we're now into a different world. But you can't not start here, because this is where you prove that you can make money. People don't pay for you to start here. So you're going to get those systems, and you have to move through. So that's the theory. What do we do about it? So Love Holidays has been around since 2012. And if you're selling holidays, one of the first things you're going to need to build is a booking system, right? Because you have to sell holidays to people, take their money and buy them. And that's how you make your business. So the booking engine has been around in Love Holidays since day zero. In fact, arguably, if we go back through the records, it predates the official start of the company because startups start like that. So, cast your mind back to 2012. 2012, we've just discovered the Higgs boson. Gangnam Style is on the radio. People think it's a good idea to build Java Spring services, some of them with XML. The world is full of brave adventure. And Boppet had been around for a while, but the Boppet XT was released that year. Does anyone remember Boppet? Anyone want to play? No? Really? I'll go on.
I don't know how, you have to show me.
Right. So,
You can do this.
I can do this.
you can do this.
How encouraging is that?
Right.
I don't even know what that is.
So we pop it to start,
Right.
and you have to spin it. Ooh, loud. Okay.
Wow.
So hit bop it when you're ready,
Okay.
and then try and do what it says. So what this is a startup simulator. We are the back-end team. We're building a booking engine, and we're not going to slow. There we go. Right, requirements.
Twist it.
Twist it. Oh, we've had an incident.
Which one?
Oh,
Oh no, it failed
twist it.
already.
It's cool.
Is it that one?
Yeah, go. Let's go again. See, the team's just finding its legs. We're shipping so much code. It's brilliant. Very good, very good. So we got an idea. It's a bit stressful. Excuse.
Martin bop it.
Yeah, this is what products are like. It just
I'm
doesn't
just an
stop.
end user,
Like, every
okay?
day another requirement. It just goes and goes and goes. Thank you very much.
You're
Can we-
welcome.
So where were we? Right. So what's been happening is we've had our feature requests coming in, and as we start to make money in the startup era, the team splits. So the back end team becomes a booking team, and we call out a supply team. The code for the supply team is still in that system, but they're not responsible for it anymore. This team are going to deal with all that stuff, but they're still committing it. And as COVID comes in, well, we can't really sell holidays during COVID. It was great if you like being isolated. It was terrible if you were selling holidays. So back to the supply team, we've got to do a lot of refunds and pray that this thing gets us out of it. We survived, SME era. So we've been busy building and investing in other parts of the company, so we can still hire people and we're growing. So everything's great. But what you can see is our little bop it requirements are bouncing from team to team to team. So the impact of that is each of those teams are going to have their own take on what this service does, but all the other teams that used to be in that very first team still have some code in there. And some of them have pulled it out, some of them have built microservices. They're all trying to do the best, but the requirements come in. So we end up with this. Right, we've got our bounded context, we've got a team, and they've been given the booking engine. Brilliant, thank you very much, we love you. I love my job. And they're doing their best, but they can't quite extract it out. So we see some boxes where features have been pulled out, but we never quite get there. So we're left with this friction. And this is an example of what slows teams down, right? Is when you can't just separate because you know that it's right. So we're not sympathetic to the organization anymore. And we can measure it. So this heat map, every color is a different team in their ownership of the code and the code base. So what you can see here is this team apparently is responsible for everything. It's actually a third of the code. We've got 2/3 of the code that's being changed by other teams. And so every time they make a change, you've got a change process to go through, you've got a coordination, you've got this overhead. So that's a way of just visualizing what the friction is. So, we've been talking about teams and bounded contexts and solving things, so surely, like the naive solution would be, let's just break it into microservices, and this was actually 3 years ago what I would have told you we needed to do. Genuinely believed it. The way out of this mess is just break it apart. Absolutely right. Go back to the slide about the pendulum. Microservices. That'll fix everything. But if we think about the data API, we haven't really talked about that at all. If you've got a booking engine and you're a startup and your survival depends upon how you're selling holidays and how people are interacting with your funnel, I would imagine the CXO and the CFO and all of the trading team are reasonably interested in that. And thankfully they were, because that's how the company grew. Otherwise, we would have sunk and gone down. So that API has to exist because Conway wasn't talking about platform teams, he wasn't talking about tech teams. Conway was talking about your organization. So the shape of the software has to bend to the organization needs trading reports. So they will get trading report. It will happen, right? And I think we've always been there where the CEO needs something now. He pretty much gets it if you want to continue drawing a paycheck. So we all got paid. And I was doing research on when BigQuery arrived. BigQuery arrived in 2011. We started this business in 2012, and we were on AWS. So BigQuery didn't exist. BigQuery exists now, and the SQL schema of the runtime database has always existed. So the solution of getting data into BigQuery was to mirror parts of the schema across into BigQuery. Because we can do that today, we can get the data out, we can get our reports. We get paid, the trading decisions are made, the business succeeds. It's not a bad decision, it's a pragmatic decision. It comes at a cost, right? Your cost is your technical. But sometimes you need to take on debt, right? We all have credit cards and mortgages, like there's good debt and there's bad debt. I would argue this was good debt at the day that this was made, but remember that time moves on and it doesn't stay a good decision forever. So a good decision in 2016 might not be a great decision in 2025. So what you're left with, really, this is a true service area of our service. This is how big it really is. Yeah, we got REST API and we don't like it. That's not the problem. Our problem is the data underneath and this. And the value is in the data as well, because this is where the business decisions are being made. These are the decisions that set the company's strategy that will grow the calls through the REST API and make more money in the future. So we should probably care about that as much as our runtime API. So this is not just a philosophy that we have for the teams that are building products. We also apply that to the infrastructure teams at Love Holidays. So our data engineering teams and our core teams adopt a similar model. So luckily, while time has been marching on, we've invented a new thing, or we found a new thing that we read a book on. The idea for a data mesh wasn't ours, but we really love it. How many people have heard of the data mesh and data products? I'm not expecting too many. Oh, look back. Brilliant. I'm not going to explain it, but if you understand a runtime API and a good REST web service, where you have a domain, a data product and a data mesh is the same thing. So let's have our data owned by the team. Let it represent our problem domain and let it make sense to anyone, and we'll own it. The same as our runtime API should have a good interface. Our data should be the same. There's no difference. We don't want a data team to run a warehouse where they guess what this field in this table means and then get it wrong. Because they can't know the entire business domain. It's not possible for a human to do that. So that's where data products come in. The team that builds the data supports it, and they deal with the data being correct and accurate, and it evolves as they grow their domain. And it's brilliant. We love it a lot. We just didn't have it in 2012 because no one had thought of it. Time has moved on. So, domain for a checkout service, maybe it's a shopping basket. That's what we thought. What we're interested in this case, is what happens when someone comes into the Love Holidays website, they look for a holiday, they go half board, maybe full board, maybe actually let's upgrade the room. I'm going to do nothing. Actually, I'll send it to my wife. 3 weeks later, yeah, what's the price now? We quite like that idea, because buying a holiday is very different to buying a can of beans. It's an emotional decision. It's probably the biggest thing you're going to buy this year, unless you're moving house or buying a car or getting married. And they're slightly more stressful, but buying a holiday can be reasonably involved. So people take their time, they explore, you dream. It's a big thing. I mean, I'm planning my holiday for next year. I enjoy the dreaming phase. It's great. So let's build one of those. So the problem we had is we need to get the data out. So for that, we're not going to break the booking engine apart. We made the decision that what we needed to do was to source events. And what that means in the event sourcing world is every time something in our service of interest happens, we're going to publish it to the world. So, hey, someone just changed their basket. They added a transfer. Oh, they took the transfer out. Oh, they tried to pay. It failed. Which is really cool, because what we're sending out then is a list of interesting stuff that's happening, and we've got it out of our service, which we would like to do things to later, but that's not our problem today. We're setting that up for the future. And those events go to an event processor, and its primary job is write them down, record them in a long list so that we see everything that's happened. Once we've done that, we want to then build something useful with it, and this is our data product. We want to build baskets, and the way that you do that is for every person coming in, when you see an event, you take all the events that you've got so far, and you determine what their basket looks like. So it's a layering approach. Brilliant, so we've got a data product. We've made it from events. It sounds kind of funky. We haven't had to change the booking engine too much. We do have the small matter that no one is using our data product. So then the slightly disappointing thing, you have to maintain backwards compatibility, otherwise you've still broken the entire world. So we reduce it back down to the old API. So we build the thing we want to kill from the thing that we love. It's a bit twisted, but it works really well. And that means everyone can continue to work. We did forget about observability though. So the one aspect of our teams was, although they were mirroring the data out, they also had their own logs that were coming out. When we looked at those, that was kind of interesting, because all those teams who didn't own Booking Engine all had, well, many of them, had very structured logs with really good data in them. And it's like, well, why is that? Well, that's how we support that system, we don't know. So they're events as well, and we send those into the data product. So how about we don't make that a proprietary thing that only one team in our tech area is interested in? I'm pretty sure the business would be interested, for example, in knowing from our suppliers how many rooms came back and whether they were the rooms that the suppliers told us we were going to get when we called them. So that turns up as well. Which is why logs and observability are not the same thing. Logs are useful for diagnostics, but if you've got anything in your business process where people are dependent upon it, you should really challenge why that's a log file that you're storing it in, because this is ephemeral and that thing is probably important to you. Better to get it into some data. So, awesome. So what happens next is we start migrating people. So we can see that we've got the lines of, the green stuff is stuff that's touching our products, and the red stuff, that atrophies over time. And this is where step 4 of the previous presentation comes in. You celebrate those people as much as you can. You do find them, you literally dance next to them. I can't emphasize enough how important that is. Because it does drive change, right? So the product managers who gave you the data product, they tell the CFO how great this is. Now we can see this, now I know. I've reduced these problems, it's brilliant. You should move all your reports to this, and then suddenly you have a different problem, which is how quickly can we migrate all the reports? But that's a brilliant problem to have. You want that problem. And it worked. So if you had any doubts as to whether that's a good idea, that's the outcome of encouraging change, is you get this migration across. And so now, post-January, we'd migrated everything over. Now teams can start to kill with fire that terrible code in the booking engine, because no one cares about it anymore. They've got their data, they're making their business decisions. We've separated the business from the technical problems which we've got, which the business doesn't care about. That's not their problem. So, somewhat unsatisfying if you were hoping that the outcome would be we fixed the booking engine. It's the real world, and sometimes things take longer than you might expect. But that's fine, because the problem wasn't just the engineering department, the problem was the wider company. So we had 300 people entangled in the service, and we now got it down to maybe 3 or 4 teams. That's a huge win. Again, emphasizing the success of that is important because it gives us hope. So now the teams have hope, right? We've taken away a big business problem for them. And we've also decoupled the teams from each other. What we hope is that they will do this because we predict, and Conway says they will, if we give them space and time. And our job now as engineering leads is to give people space and time to do the right thing, because the reason you get to this situation is because you don't have time to do the thing you know you need to do. So it has to become a business reason. And you have to couple it to business benefits. The reason we built the Baskets data product wasn't just because we wanted to tidy the world up. Yay, you don't make money doing it. No one cares. If you lose money, you go bust. It doesn't matter how pretty your solution is. The reason we did it is because we could get better data to the business and that they would be excited about, and that was a huge driving force. And along the way, we want to clear things up. But you have to start there. You have to start from why the world would be better and build that change drive, because people want to go towards shiny things. They don't want to be told they've got to clean their room. That isn't exciting. And we've got independence for the teams. They can decide when they do that work because they're now independent. And that's huge, because different teams have capacity at different times. And now it just becomes an altruistic thing where when we have an opportunity, we can go and slice another bit off. So we started with talking about service, and it's been a bit of a journey. I don't think this is at all accurate. It's not really what we should be talking about anymore. Although that's kind of trite and lovely, I'd go for something slightly wordier. But you can. So services are wrong. We're looking at systems. We should be building systems that are sympathetic to our organization. And it doesn't really matter how many services are in it. What you're interested in is how it joins up, and does it connect, and does it give the business what the business needs. And it gives the business what it needs if it's sympathetic to what its structured looks like and what it needs today. So hopefully that's given you a chance to think about how well your systems are aligned with the business. And if they're lined up, that's brilliant. But the problem is that it's all going to change. So get ready for it. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions, Stuart?
I have one. Shall we change sympathetic to empathetic?
I love
We can
that.
debate
If
about
you'd
it,
shared your
but
slides, I
it
would.
feels like it's a better fit to what you
Yes, because sympathy for me isn't feeling sorry for someone, it's more a mechanical sympathy.
Yeah.
But empathy works really
It's
well as
more
well.
action oriented towards another
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, I like that.
We should do talks together. Let's just.
It feels like we're a brilliant double act. Yes.
For your event system, how much, so how long have you been using it, and how many, say, tractability issues with events that say, oh, I don't know whether someone's listening to this, or whether the right events get produced, etc. Do you have?
Question. So is the question how accurate the events
Yeah,
are?
because you're working with an event system that is basically unstructured. And the events themselves have a structure.
I see.
But everyone gets to come in and say, oh, I want to consume this, and I'm going to produce that.
Yeah.
At some point, you'll find probably that there is a bit of a disconnect between those.
Yeah, so currently that's not our problem because the checkout team built the event processing system. They consume it and they write it. So it's private to their
And they
world.
haven't written it 10 years ago.
And they haven't written it 10 years ago. But even within that, when we were building it, you can get event poisoning quite easily, for example, where you build an event, someone changes something, they get the sequence wrong. And so the answer to that for us was good automated testing. Go back to basics and make sure you have strong testing between your systems. And to build a release situation, a release model that detects really quickly, ideally on the dev machine, this isn't going to work, you've got your sequence wrong. The other hard rule is events only change forwards through time. We don't go back and edit history, right? If it's happened, it happened.
Yeah.
If it was this shape and we don't like the shape of
Follow
the
the
event,
rules of double entry bookkeeping. Huh?
yeah, you can't. It's an append-only ledger, but it's immutable, and if you walk away from that, you're in a world of pain.
Yeah.
And that's largely it. We also build a visualization, so in the runtime system, you can bring up a UI of what is the event store now, and it will build you a view of what it's got and tell you what the projection will be, and that was cool. It was good demoware, but it's also really useful to just visualize stuff because you can literally have it up on one side and you can walk around the website and in real time see what the events are doing and model it, and that just helps train engineers as to how the system works and what they can do, what they can't do. Everything else is a conversation. I want to make a change, is it sensible?
Was the driver for this change? Was it like the business, or was it the technical kind of team sort of pushing to do this, or was it a mix of both?
Oh. Selfishly, I would say it was driven by technology. We strongly consider ourselves to be a technology company first, and we happen to sell holidays. And I've been in organisations that claim this sort of thing. I would say we're role modelling it reasonably well. So in the technology world, it was we need to kill the booking engine is kind of the mantra. We can do better than this. Right? We need space, we need time. But where you really break ground is when you can explain the business reason, and if we do this, we are going to have this business outcome. And then it becomes a partnership, and that is the only way you ever get these big projects done, in my opinion. That's the only way you should do it. The worst thing we could have done was say, we're going to go dark for 9 months, and trust us, we're going to build a new booking. How many times have we seen those fail? It's guaranteed. So yeah, I think it was a bit of both, and the business drive was just, why are you guys taking so long to do this thing that should be really easy? I just don't get it. And I think we've all been there as well. Why is that hard? It's I just want another big there. We can't. and if you get enough of those and you can join them together again, that gives you a good outcome, because you could say, if we make this technical improvement, you can have these way faster. And we've also thought of these other things that you can have that we think are just as valuable. How about we try this? And as long as you can get there quickly enough. So we didn't go for, let's expose all the events immediately and build a wonderful data product. That's kind of the conceit. We built a version 1, and the goal of version 1 was replicate what we've got. And we hit that first. And that in itself was amazing, because that drove out all manner of bugs in the old system, because we were saying, okay, we'll know it's right when it's exactly 1-to-1. And it was like, hang on, we disagree. Oh, we're right, they're wrong. And then you go back and you fix that. So along the way, we fixed all sorts of accuracy issues, and the business see the benefit of that immediately. It's like, yeah, we're not there yet, but we've already improved these things. It's like, trust us, we're on the right track. We believe that this is going right.
Time for one more question. Anybody? Jordan?
Do you have any other rules or mantras even that you say to yourself when you when it comes to planning out or designing services for large, small, just applications generally? What are the things that run through your mind first?
Ooh, gosh, so many. What's it going to be like 3 years from now if we build this? If a common conversation is, we want to build a new service and we're going to build it in X. Like, I need a new microservice, and let's pick on TypeScript, why not? And I'm going to build it in TypeScript, or I'm going to build it in Python or Golang. And a good question then to ask the team is, like, within your bounded context of your domain, you've got all of these systems. How's that going to change your cognitive load? So the cognitive load is how many things do you have to know about and understand before you can now make a business change? And are you reducing that or are you raising it? Because teams with a high cognitive load get nothing done. So I generally start there.
Right. Thank you very much, Stuart. Thank you. That's it. So thank you very much to our speakers. Thank you, Masha and Stuart. As I said earlier on, they've come here tonight without any payment. It's all based on their own time. They put a huge amount of effort to come here and talk with us tonight. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much, both of you, for doing it. And no, clap away. I'll stop yabbering now, but we need to leave. So thank you very much.